Jai Hind. We can have it louder. Jai Hind. That's better. Before I start, firstly, my apologies for having got delayed. And we can have all these educating, ideating sessions, but we all have to suffer somebody's incompetence. And today morning, I got a last-minute call from somewhere that your visa and your passport, you have to collect it right now because we don't know where to deliver. Now, we are talking of AI, we are talking of data, we are talking of computation, high-end computation, but we are still walking through those paces which possibly a developing economy has to do. Anyway, leaving that aside, I stand in front of you to share a few ideas of mine, and especially people from the government, the PSUs, you will understand. There is a huge gap between nations in the world who are at a 25 trillion GDP economy. Somebody is at 17, we are barely touching 4. And these great powers feel threatened even when we are so far behind. And the whole idea in the geopolitics is to retard our growth, and retard our growth by making us getting stuck in regional conflicts. In addition to regional conflicts, internal conflicts. Now, why am I telling you this? Because a lot of us grew up having been told that no, everything will be fine, there will be no war for the next 10 years. And even if there is a war, there will be international community which will come to your rescue. There are a few decision points which we need to see. Firstly, the era of formal declaration of war is over. Even Russia, Ukraine, they've been fighting for nearly 3 years now. There is no formal declaration of war. Neither is there a formal declaration of war from Israel's side. We've just been through one part of Operation Sindoor. We are continuing with that. But we haven't formally declared a war. So, in the government circles, there are many rules and regulations which, if you have to follow to the last T, you say if war is declared, then finances will be available. If war is declared, then you can possibly ask for a surge from the industry. I think that era is over. The era of ambiguity and grey zone warfare is very much present today. We will have to continuously look at the non-kinetic war. I was just hearing we were talking of cyber threats. Cyber war, information war, this will continue. It is already happening without even declaring. Everyone is at a threat because out of 1.4 billion population, we have nearly 1 billion people on smart devices, which means our digital surface is great, but the threat is greater. And we have to inculcate that habit of cyber hygiene, cyber foundation right from small children, because everyone is using a smartphone given by the parents. There are no formal classes, but children are very good at it. But we have to teach them how to handle those. And especially so when workers of PSUs, when they go home, they have possibly a desktop. The wife is also working, the husband is also working, the children are also working. And there is a small child who just clicks and downloads something and the entire thing is compromised. And these are the things which are being noticed more and more today. Other things which are important are the narrative warfare. Everyone will keep believing what is being sent to you. What is being sent to you on WhatsApp or Facebook is not necessarily everything is true. Why is it not true? Because internet is not ours. WhatsApp is not ours. Facebook is not ours. When somebody is giving you so much of facility of giving you an internet and a Facebook and WhatsApp, obviously he is extracting something out of it. The clear indication is that the West or the owner of internet is extracting data out of that, big data analysis based on that sentiment analysis, and narrative warfare starts and it continues. The other issue is wars which are being fought between unequals are essentially not the way they are visible. Russia is not fighting Ukraine. Russia is fighting many countries who are backing Ukraine. India is not fighting Pakistan, which is alone. There are many countries which are backing it. So when you have to start identifying your adversary, the national adversary, you have to see the shadows and the ghosts behind that. And Operation Sindoor was one big revelation as to who your real enemies are. Even earlier, because of our polite behavior, we are not calling them enemies, but they have revealed themselves now. During good times, friends are friends, but during bad times, you get the real picture. And it's not only external, even internally, there are so many faces which have revealed themselves. If you're making a war effort of the nation look silly, then obviously you know which side of the boundary you're standing. Will war stop? That is a big question. That is utopia. I do not think wars will stop. What is the role that the PSUs have to play? It is not only in wars, but even economic wars where we have to quickly speed up. Our comparisons have to be with not what I did in my last quarter, what I did in my last year, but what exactly China and America did. At what pace are they growing? If the gap between us is going to increase, then we will always be in a receiving end. So that is the reason you all are leaders of your establishments. You have to look at how fast can we make it grow. Yes, we have done wonders. The way we have jumped from what was 1 trillion to nearly 4 trillion now, the pace has been good, but good can be better. And making that good better will only happen when all of us join in that effort to do more than what we are doing today. The vulnerability of PSUs which are in the hinterland, please remember today every target which is in the hinterland is approachable by the kinetic effort of the enemy. You have to look at the security of your establishments, whether it is from internal enemies or whether it is from external forces. Unless you ensure proper security, I think all the effort, all the plans, all the dreams, all the visions will go down the drain. Here, Honorable Prime Minister says Viksit Bharat 2047. You can become Viksit only if you are Surakshit. And that is the reason why I am saying whether it is from non-kinetic domain or whether it is from kinetic domain, we all have to ensure that the economic resources entrusted to us by the nation from the taxpayers' money have to be protected so that they see us through. I do not think we will have the luxury of what countries like Ukraine and Pakistan have, where people will come and stand by them and say, okay, you've got one factory destroyed, we will still support you. In fact, nobody is supporting for free. In any case, they are extracting something out of that. But India is different. India and Israel are the two countries which are surrounded on all sides by the enemies of all types. Israel possibly is safer, it doesn't have as much internal danger, but we have to be careful with our internal threats as well. We are still going through the paces of what will happen with our neighbors who are colluding, and that collusivity between Pakistan and China is evident for all those people who have their eyes open. Those people who are still wondering that their responsibility lies only up to your compound gate, then you're not doing much for the country. When, after so much of effort, when the Ministry of Home Affairs started doing various mock drills and other things, we realized that there are so many generations which have never seen a mock drill, they have never heard of a blackout, they don't even know what kind of aerial threat will happen. Today the transparency is so much that from a satellite, anything which is in the remotest of corners can be picked up by the enemy. So that is the reason we have to be strategically thoughtful that whatever our stores are, they are looked after properly, whatever stocks are there, they are looked properly. Your people who are entering and exiting, you have an eye over them, because PSUs are our gems. If some danger or damage happens to a PSU, the surge capability which we require for our national resilience, it gets compromised. We have private sector also. We look at public and private sector equally, because that is the backbone of our economic growth. A lot of effort is being made to pull us into those conflicts where our economic growth gets stymied and we overshoot the 2047 deadline that we have fixed for ourselves. Nobody has come and told us that you can't do by 2070. We decided that for the next generation, we must give them something by 2047 to be proud of. A demographic dividend is very often spoken of. A demographic dividend has to comprise of patriotic and nationalistic people. If the demographic dividend comprises of anti-nationals, then it is better not to have them. The second issue about our demographic dividend of 1.4 billion, out of which 60% are youth. If that 60% is not educated, skilled and motivated, then it is a disaster. In addition to the three qualities which I mentioned, I want to also mention that if the next generation is not healthy, then you will be spending more on looking after them than they can contribute to the nation. These are many factors that we have been thinking of, working on. A lot of effort has been made to speed up, like in the space sector, outer space. You only hear what ISRO has done. 11th October 2021, Honorable Prime Minister took a video conferencing in which he had 10 private startups in space sector, and he spoke to them and he told them that, look, ISRO will do strategic projects like Mangalyaan, Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan, but for the defense sector, I want you all to contribute. And that gave such a boost. Startups have started working in the launch sector, startups are making satellites, startups are making payloads. There's so much of activity, and many of these startups are working with the PSUs, which is again good news, because obviously startups need a lot of hand-holding, they need a lot of financing, they need a lot of mentoring. And that is where PSUs again are useful, because there are certain things which a startup can do, say maybe designing, developing. He has no idea whatsoever about financing, he has no idea about business promotion, he has no idea about how to get to the government and to have compliances as regards induction of equipment into the armed forces. And he doesn't have the logistic stamina at all. So a large responsibility rests with the PSUs not to let startups die. The day he is fed up, you will find the startup with his technology going to Silicon Valley, and we will be forced to buy the same product 100 times the cost. Our solutions in India, especially in the defense sector or in the security sector, defense is a narrow word, in the security sector, most important thing is we have to have the latest and affordable solutions. We don't have the luxury of buying what America buys. We don't have that luxury of China, which works on the stick principle, not the carrot, but the stick principle. You've all heard of 996. The work ethos there is based on 9 to 9 for 6 days a week. In India, you try and do that, you will be trolled on social media. So the principle here is that while we enjoy our democracy, but we ensure that we have to protect our democracy, and all these people who say that, we stand by India and if something happens, we will intervene. Yes, they will intervene. They will intervene with only one purpose, to sell us their weapons. There is no other interest in any other global leader. So we have to ensure that our next generation is aware of this, and the present generation has a lot of responsibility, especially the leadership. to work and bring in small reforms. Bigger reforms are handled by bigger people. All of us possibly have to bring smaller reforms. Just, I think, day before yesterday, I was with Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal. He is the economic advisor to the PMO. And the biggest point which he conveyed was bigger reforms can only succeed if smaller reforms keep pace. And there are hundreds and thousands of smaller reforms which are needed. 1947 or prior to that, whatever processes had been given, if you do not bring in these small reforms, the bigger reforms fail. And this is another quality which our Honorable Prime Minister has. He keeps pushing all of us to say, just look at what is the policy. Is it helping anybody? Or we are saddled with a policy which is from the colonial time. Is it troubling somebody? And most of these laws are troubling a common man. That is why there is a huge pile-up in the judiciary. And a common man is running round and round and not contributing to the nation. If 1.4 billion people are busy going round and round and not contributing, what is the point? And we are all in that position where we have to just turn around, look inside, what policy, what SOP, what protocols am I following? Is there any scope that can be changed? Just to drive home my point, I will bring out what Mr. Sanyal told us. National monuments. You know, he was told by the Prime Minister to look at a list of national monuments, more than 1,000. And he started going into it and he found a couple of interesting observations. Some of the monuments did not deserve to be national monuments, and many national monuments deserving places were not included in that. That is one part. Very interestingly, in Delhi, near Kashmiri Gate, there is a place which is vacant. Once upon a time, there was the statue of one British general who was responsible for massacring the freedom fighters in 1858. And the British had put his statue there. And that is listed in the National Monument list. Nobody has bothered to look at it that is it relevant today? Is it a motivating factor? Or is it something which is demeaning to our forefathers? Having seen that, he went to see that particular place and he didn't find the statue there. And when he started asking that this is a vacant place, why is the statue not there? It came out that somewhere in the 60s, Ireland asked for that statue to be shipped to Ireland. It has gone there, but this monument is still in the list. Who should be blamed? The blame squarely lies with us people who are possibly somewhere in the middle leadership, in the not so higher leadership, but obviously somebody expects us to carry out some changes. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to claim that we are going to be third largest economy or even more than that. I started by saying that Viksit and Surakshit. I strongly feel that all of us, if we do not protect our economic growth, if we do not protect our human resource, if we do not protect any interest of the nation, I think we are moving very fast in the direction what our forefathers were, enslavement. And that is something which we definitely do not want to give to our younger generation. Many things related to science and technology we are doing. We have to do better than that. The innovations and the indigenization. The Ministry of Defense took a major leap in indigenization. And in this Operation Sindoor, you've seen what has worked is a combination of our strategic partnerships and indigenization. So if on one hand, the strategic partnership with Russia helped us with S-400, but at the same time what DRDO has given in the form of missiles has worked very well. We have seen an advantage of transfer of technology as well as joint ventures. BrahMos is an ideal case of joint ventures, and that's the policy that we are looking at. That the best possible technology, if somebody is not giving us or is insisting on transfer of technology, we must insist on joint ventures because that finally is our ownership. That's our possession. So whatever is good, we need to speed up there. Whatever is bad, we need to dump it. If there is something that is possibly a doubt in our mind, I'm sure there are people who are more knowledgeable and they'll be able to tell us how to improve the nation. Our nation will improve only if you and I contribute. That is all that I had to say. My thanks to the organizers for getting me here and wish you all the best for this wonderful event. Thank you and Jai Hind.